What's going on, everybody? It's attorney Chris Waggener back to reacting to more cops clips. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a personal injury attorney that specializes in car accident in the St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay area here in sunny Florida. And before I became a personal injury attorney, I was a public defender for a couple of years. And so I have reviewed body cams and dash cams. I have counseled clients. I've tried dozens of criminal cases. And I just love the criminal process. So it's fun to watch cops videos and just comment on it. So if you like what you see here, leave me a like. If you really like it, leave me a subscribe so you can see when we upload more videos. All right, let's get into it.
I've been on a street level narcotics unit for the past 10 years now.
Arizona.
That's my passion, weeding out drug offenders in the community. What a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of the drug offenders out here are the ones that are committing auto theft and burglaries. So I think it definitely makes a difference when we're taking some of these people out of the neighborhood.
All right, so he's right. Drugs is a serious problem in most, if not all, communities in the United States right now. And this looks like it's a fairly recent one also, this cops. And he's not wrong. A lot of drug offenders, it's a pretty vicious cycle. They get hooked on drugs and they do everything they can. They spend all of their money trying to get the next fix. And ultimately, it turns them into a life of crime because they start breaking into people's houses or they break into a business and they start stealing things that they can then go and sell. They get the money, they buy the drugs until they run out of money. Then they go and they steal more things. And so they just keep continuously getting picked up for different charges, and eventually there's a hopelessness that is born into those people, which makes them do more and more desperate things. Some of them will eventually turn to violence, and it's heartbreaking.
We got this car that is leaving this liquor store here. It's got some suspended license plates, so we're gonna stop him and have a chat with him.
All right, so these guys are out on patrol and they run a license plate in front of them, which they are allowed to do. Police officers are allowed to do spot checks while they're driving around to see if the license plates are registered, if there's a suspension if the owner has a suspended license, and that's enough to give them reasonable suspicion of a crime being committed to stop them. And that's what frames this particular stop, is that they have the driver has come back with a suspended license. So they are now able to stop this car. As you can see, they're going to park behind him to keep them from leaving, which means that they've seized all of the individuals which are in this car. It looks like there's going to be at least 3 of them because you can see that the arm is hanging out. It looks like it's hanging out from the back passenger seat. So there's probably at least 3 individuals in there. And they can make the approach. If they see anything, like if they're doing drugs in the car, then they can expand the investigation to include drugs. But as it stands right now, they are investigating the suspended license. They're going to see if the person driving the car is the owner, because if the owner is driving the car, they have a suspended license. That's a crime. Driving with a suspended license is a crime, and then they can go from there.
You good, man? You put your hands
How's
on.
it going, guys?
You got weapons on you or something?
No weapons in the car, right? Nothing like that.
Right. Okay. So, and he even said it right there, that there's no weapon in the car, right? Every time police officers approach a vehicle, safety is one of the main priorities, if not the main priority, for the police officers who are conducting the stop. In this particular situation, you've got 3 individuals in this car, which means they're outnumbered 2 to 3, right? There's 3 of them. So it's going to be a concern that they're outnumbered right off the bat. So when these police officers approach, they want to make sure that if there is any threat, that they can pacify the threat in order to keep themselves as safe as possible.
Hey, do you know the plates are suspended?
It's my ex.
Your ex-wife's car?
Yes.
Okay. Which car?
There is.
My aunt.
Okay. Do you have your ID on you real quick?
I don't have any. They
Do you have your ID?
were just helping me move my stuff to my mom's house. I didn't know it expired either.
Okay.
I'm fine.
You have nothing with your name on it?
I'm moving all my stuff to my mom.
Give us a minute, we'll get you out of here, all right? Yep.
All right. So you even hear it there. He says, give us a minute and we'll get you out of here. All right. So they pulled over the vehicle because the owner of the vehicle has a suspended license. Upon approach, they talk to the guy who's driving the vehicle, and he says, oh, it's my ex-wife's vehicle. That means now these police officers know that the individual that they're dealing with isn't the person that is the owner, therefore isn't the guy with a suspended license. Now, it's okay for them to ask for a driver's license in certain circumstances, so they can go and they can run the information with the people involved in the vehicle. If I recall correctly, it's been a while since I've looked at the case law, but in Florida, if I remember right, I don't know if this is a Supreme Court, like a U.S. Supreme Court decision, or if it was a Florida decision. I think it was Florida specific. But in this unusual circumstance where they've run a spot check on a license plate and they pulled the person over because the owner of the vehicle came back with a suspended license, they can only identify the driver. And then if the driver is in fact not the person who is the owner of the vehicle, they got to let them go at that point. They're not allowed to conduct any more of an investigation, because the purpose for their investigation is to investigate the owner having a suspended license. Well, if the owner of the vehicle is driving the car with the suspended license, it's a crime. Well, as soon as they find out that the person who's driving isn't the owner, they got to let them go, because now they don't have a good basis for stopping them.
Looks like the backseat passenger has a couple of warrants. Glendale warrant is for a trespassing. Looks like the Peoria warrant was just a failure to appear.
Those your crutches?
All right, so they've identified the guy, the back passenger, by running his ID. They've found out that he has a couple of warrants out for his arrest. This is common in just about every single traffic stop. When they run your license, they're also cross-referencing you for any warrants that you may have out for your arrest. So anytime that you have a warrant out for your arrest and you get pulled over by the police, if they're going to take your ID, which is most of the time, they're going to find out if you have a warrant. In this case, this guy's got two. One in Peoria, Illinois. I imagine Illinois, because that's the only Peoria I know. Peoria, Illinois, which is out of state because they're in Arizona, but the other one's in Glendale, so that's local. They're in Glendale, Arizona. So they're going to pick this guy up for his warrants. He's not going to be able to continue on. He's going to have to get in the car with them. And this guy in the back of this car most likely knows that. He's hoping that they're not going to notice his warrants for whatever reason, but he knows he's going to jail.
He's got a bunch of warrants. Is that his crutches? They are. You got a broken foot or what?
No, ankle.
Broken ankle? Let me see.
I'll go to my side.
You sprain it or what?
I got rear-ended the back right tire. It hit the side of my shoe. It hit like that. But he was only going like 4 miles an hour.
You didn't see him or what?
No, I did.
Why didn't you get out of the way?
Well, I mean, I didn't think he would hit me.
All right. Come on out here real quick. You could bring your crutches with you. I'm going to have you just sit on in front of the car. Nothing in your pockets, right?
Okay, so why are the cops asking him about his broken ankle? I mean, outside of it's kind of interesting factor, you don't normally pull out guys with warrants out of the backs of cars like this as passengers, and they have crutches and a broken ankle. But also, more relevantly, other than it just being interesting to them, if they're arresting him and he's got a broken ankle, they need to account for it. They need to make sure that they put it into the paperwork that he has a broken ankle. They have to put it into the paperwork that he has crutches. But also, they don't want to hurt the ankle more. They don't want to be, there's always the possibility that they could be charged for abuse, for, excessive use of force and things like that. So they want to know what's going on with him specifically physically, so that they can account for it specifically, so that they don't hurt him in the off chance that this guy tries to make a claim on them for excessive use of force or anything like that.
Actually, if you could just walk back here, just so we have a little more room, just more comfortable for you. Hey, I'm going to ask you a question, dude. You know the chick in the front seat?
Yeah, I know.
What's her name? Huh?
On the end, as far as I know,
What's her last name?
I don't know.
Did you find anything?
The driver had meth and weed on him. The passenger had methamphetamine in her purse, and she's got a felony warrant.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know. I must have missed something here. I don't know how they got to search the entire vehicle based off of what they've found out so far. I understand that the vehicle is being driven by a person who is not the owner of the vehicle, but that doesn't mean that he's illegally in possession of the vehicle. It doesn't mean that he robbed it. Doesn't mean that he stole it. Doesn't mean that he's done anything wrong with it. The person that owns the vehicle very well could have given him, the keys to the car and said, hey, go to the store for me or whatever, So I'm not really quite sure why it is they're going to be able to look through the vehicle. My gut is, without more evidence, it's an illegal search. Just taking that passenger out to take him to jail pursuant to his warrants does not give them the ability to expand the search to the vehicle. They can search him. Oh, there he goes, he's running. So they can search the guy who's running. They've had him down, and any of his belongings, maybe his backpack, they can look at his backpack
On the ground.
the arrest, to search into the arrest. But the whole vehicle, I don't know about that. He's running pretty good for a guy with a broken ankle.
Get on the ground.
All right, so he's going into a neighborhood. All right, so let's talk about this, because he's about to start running through houses is what it looks like. Now, every person in the United States who's a United States citizen has a right, and that right is to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Now, a lot of times when people think they hear unreasonable searches and seizures, it's the Fourth Amendment Constitution guarantee. They think that, well, the police can't just like take my car unreasonably, or they can't take my phone or my computer. But it also means the person. When we say a seizure, it can be a seizure of the person. That is, you're not allowed to go anywhere anymore. So like that guy, when his warrants came up and they pulled him out of the car, he had been seized in that moment to further conduct their investigation and to eventually take him to jail. So at the top level, when we're talking about your right to be free from searches and seizures, back when the Constitution was originally written, the only way that you could do a search or a seizure was pursuant to a warrant. But over the years, we've had carve-outs, we've made exceptions that allow officers, law enforcement, to conduct searches and seizures without having to go through the cumbersome process of calling up a judge and getting an actual written warrant. Like, that process does still exist. But like, let's say in this situation, when they pulled that vehicle over, they had a reasonable suspicion that the driver of the vehicle had a suspended license, which is a crime. They had a reasonable suspicion that a person was driving with a suspended license. That's a crime. They pulled him over to investigate, and the search ultimately ended up expanding, or the investigation ultimately ended up expanding to include this individual in the back seat who had warrants out for his arrest. So now he's running. So they need to chase him because he's running for the police. That's a new charge. That's going to be fleeing and eluding or evading. It just depends on the jurisdiction that you're in. In Florida, that's a class 3 felony, or at least it used to be, but it's a felony. And so this is what we call hot pursuit. That's the actual legal exception for search and seizure. So when they start going into other people's houses, into their yards, typically police officers are not allowed into a person's home or into their yard, onto their property, without an actual written search warrant to do so. However, if they are in hot pursuit of a suspect, of a person who has committed a crime, that is an exception to that search factor. So they can search through people's houses trying to find people that they're chasing.
Get on the ground.
It looks like this is going to become classic cops. They're going to be going through people's yards. Yep, we're going over the fence. Up there he goes.
See ya?
All right, cut. And look at all these yards they're in and looking around. Like, who knows who these people are? But because they're in hot pursuit, they can do it.
He's going to be right in this area. I would say maybe a little farther west, but he jumped here.
I don't know how hot the pursuit is anymore. It seems like it's cooled off to me.
We're going to wait for the dog.
Watch the dog.
It's like right now, police department, you're gonna get hit. You're surrounded. Come out with your hands in the air.
All right.
Black male, blue jeans, black shirt. The only thing we have is 237 Paul right now. Well done.
For a guy who broke his ankle.
Hey, can we go through your house?
That he jumped the wall. It's gonna be a brown house.
So now you're actually just walking to this person's house.
All of these, it's open.
All right, so let's talk about this. All right, so what these people are doing, they're being good citizens. They're helping the police, look for this fugitive. But here's the problem. The attorney in me thinks this is unnecessarily risky. Now, I'm sure that these people are good law-abiding citizens, but if they have like some weed lying around, or if they have, I don't know, a bloody knife lying around or anything like that, these guys are working. They are law enforcement officers. If they see anything that looks like it might be a crime, their investigation is now going to be in this house. So they'll send some cops to continue looking for the fugitive, but they're going to stop. And these people who heretofore had nothing to do with any of this investigation, which started with them pulling over that vehicle in the gas station parking lot, now goes to these people. So never consent to police looking in anything that you own. Never consent to letting them into your house, even if it is that they're looking for a fugitive, because you never know what one police officer is going to find that's going to turn your day bad.
Is the dog, what type of dog is it?
It's a pit, but he's some fence.
I'm gonna go ahead.
No, he won't.
Let me see your hand. Let me see your hand. Let me see your hand. Crawl out
Sounds like
there
they
now.
found him.
Crawl out there now. Cole. Crawl.
So I know that they're armed to the teeth, and I know that there's a lot more of them than there are of this suspect. There's a lot more cops than there are of the suspect. But it's still a scary scenario for a police officer because they don't know if he has a gun. I mean, I think they patted him down when he got out of the car, but who knows what he could have found on the way to crawling under whatever this is that he's hiding under. I mean, he could just pop right out of there and just, he wanted suicide by cop, right? Just, take as many of them with him as he can go. So this is the sort of thing that makes me appreciate police, even though I'm not a huge fan of them being in this person's house. I understand that it kind of comes with the territory. These are the sacrifices that we make living in a civilized society, but it is scary what these guys do.
Any sudden movement, you're going to get shot.
Do not.
Do not move.
Get on the field.
Put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back. Quit resisting.
I don't see how he can be resisting with that many guys on him.
I got
You done?
Well, ankle.
Let's go. Get up.
Oh, his ankle hurts
You
again.
ran from the police, man.
You're fine. You're fine.
Now he's limping.
What's your car?
I'm all.
I mean, realistically, like he could have run on a bad ankle. It's one of those things where maybe he wanted to get away. He didn't want to go to jail. So, you just grit your teeth and you run through it. It's not like his ankle was useless. So, it could definitely still be hurting him and he could have run on it. It could have been broken for all we know. It may not be a lie that his ankle was broken, but it is funny and it is weird.
Mysteriously, his ankle hurts again.
Weird.
You live here, yes?
Oh yeah.
With your mom?
Yeah, they're
It's crazy. My mom is here. She's by herself. She's diabetic.
Yeah, she's obviously shaken up.
She's very.
What you do desire prosecution, correct?
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and he's going to be charged with trespass.
Definitely.
All right, so he's going to get another trespassing
What's
charge.
going on
Pretty
with
sure
you,
he had a
man?
trespassing charge initially.
What did I tell you out there? When I first talked to you, what did I tell you when I was searching you? I told you what? I was not going to what?
Arrest me.
I was not going to arrest you. You had absolutely no reason to run. I already told you I knew about your misdemeanor warrants that I was not going to take you to jail for.
He wasn't even in jail.
So what's your deal?
Whoops.
Because every other cop they said that they have anyway.
That doesn't make no sense to me. I was trying to be nice to you, right? Knowing that you got a mystery ankle that hurts when it wants to hurt, but when you want to run, it don't hurt. Is there anything in the car we need to know about? I mean, that's my only guess why you ran.
I thought they already found that.
That really
Did you say they found that?
don't think so.
All right, well, here's the deal, man. Obviously, you ran from us. Now you're going to get charged with the warrants. And then depending upon what we find in the car, you're probably going to get slammed with that, too.
Yeah, running from the cops, that's a felony. So, there's instances where you can run from the cop. I have another video that actually has a scenario where I think that happens. I would argue that, he ran. It was a valid running from the cops. It's not illegal to run from the cops. However, if they've validly seized you to conduct an investigation and you take off like a Johnny on the spot and you're gone, that's a felony usually in most jurisdictions that I'm aware of. So this is a good example of what seems like a good stop. And then it just expands out from there. And then obviously you get the guy running on the hurt ankle too, which is pretty wild. So I thought this was a good example. The initial stop was a good one. The owner of the vehicle having a suspended license, finding the guy with the warrants, that was a good use of the time there. I don't know about expanding it into searching the interior of the car. They found the meth and the drugs at the beginning of the stop, but the hot pursuit exception into the woman's house was good. So anyway, yeah, that was a good video, good example of a lot of different things going on, a lot of things that police officers have to deal with, and us attorneys have to deal with on the back end. So if you like this, leave me a like, and if you really like it, give me a subscribe. See you on the next one.